This is one of the most extreme experiments I'm doing this year. I have 1 hectare of hemp like this, and I've actually been running just a regular sowing machine, a regular air seeder through it. So if you look close on the ground here, there's wheat on the ground, and you see most of them are still standing up, so I'm gonna have to roll them down. Well, the general idea is having this create like a biomat, like a biologic mat that will cover the wheat. In some areas it will cover very well with the hemp is thick over here, but in this area it's a bit too thin to really make a good cover. But we'll see. The idea was to chop this up, to have a chopper, a forage harvester, chop it up in small pieces and incorporate it in the soil and then sow it. But as it turned out, that machine wasn't available. So I had to think of something else to do, so I just took my tractor and ran it through with, with the sowing machine. I haven't heard anything, but the neighbor must have probably think I've gone completely mad or fell asleep at the wheel or something. But when they saw just a roof of a tractor coming through the hemp here. But anyway, we'll see next year how it works out. But first I'm gonna have to roll it down to make sure it snaps and goes lying down during the winter. I can't have it standing up like this. Let's see.
What's the function of that? And why do you want to do a bed of these hemp?
Why?
Why do you want to pull it down and do a bed? What
My
is
vision about the future is to work with biobeds and work with organic stuff in the surface. And one dream is to make kind of a covered seeding where I don't have where I basically put the seed on top of the ground and then cover it with a mulch. So I didn't really plan to use hemp for that, but it's just an experiment to see how well it works. And since this is part of a bigger field of 26 hectares of hemp, wheat, I have sown most of it now on a regular seeding bed. But this is just 1 hectare, so I thought I had to do something with it. The original idea was to cut it up and make some kind of bedding for horses or something, but I haven't had time and I haven't had the machine or anything, so it's just been standing here. So. And then when it turned out I couldn't get a forest harvester to chop it up, I thought maybe I could try a little bit of my vision and see what happens, because this is a lot of biomass. If you look into it here, it's even though I didn't give any nitrogen to this, it's still a lot of biomass. I mean, a well fertilized hemp can give like between 15 and 25 tons of dry matter per hectare. So that is a lot of biomass to use as a cover. I mean, the cereal rye, I think that when they get up, they want to have like 5 tons of dry matter biomass to use it as a cover. And this is a lot more tons of biomass, but it's a completely different structure for that plant. You know, there's a stem like this, and well, it's the strongest fiber in nature. You make ropes out of it, among other things. And you can of course harvest the seeds, which I have done here. So I like this plant, even though I don't smoke weed or something like that, but I like the plant. First year I grew this, I was working at my company. I had phoned back to the harvester and asked him how he was doing. That was Finola, was a short version of hemp, where you can harvest the seeds like that. This is too tall to harvest the seeds. But that was Finola, and he was harvesting, and I said, how's it going? He said, it smells like Amsterdam here. I said, and it actually does. So, but the general idea is just to create a cover and put a mulch on top of the seeds. And ideally you would cover the seeds in the soil, but that wasn't an option here. I only have an air seeder. So I just put the seeds on top of the ground, put the hemp on top over it, and time will tell if it works or not. So can actually be a very good way of managing weeds. Use weeds to, well, anyhow. Because if there's good stand of hemp, nothing grows under it. Here it grows a lot of stuff because there's too much light coming down through this thin version of it. Thin, the hemp stand is too thin. So, but if you go into the dense area here, there's no weeds under it. And hemp was actually used in the old days, up until the 30s, on the very organic soil, when they had a problem with I don't know the English word for it. The Latin word is agropyronrepens, kvickrot in Swedish. When they had a problem with that, they had no means didn't have Roundup or anything, so they actually grew hemp to kill that grass. And I mean the problem with using it like that is currently I don't have anyone buying this, so I don't know who to sell it to. But if it was possible to sell hemp and grow it as a crop, it would be fantastic to use it to get rid of all the weeds, and then do either something like this or just chop it in conventional. But I would love to have this crop in my crop rotation, but currently it's not possible. This is just an experimental field. But I mean, you should never say never. If you have too much problem with that grass weed, that the root that spreads via the root, then growing hemp can be an option. A very expensive option though, because the seeds are expensive. I think I paid like 260 euros per hectare for this hectare. The seeds, 260 euros for 1 hectare. So the seeds has to come down in cost, and also obviously if you can't do anything with the crop for that, you're losing a whole year. But I mean, if you have a severely infested field, maybe that's the way to restore it, and just swallow the cost. So and also hemp, I think they have registered like 25,000 uses for it. You have three beneficial things. You have the seeds here, up in here, where it matures from the top to the bottom. So when it's mature in the middle, you harvest, and then you get a little bit to green up here, a little bit to ripe down here. So the average will be okay. That's why when you buy hemp seed, you see some green seeds and some ripe seeds. That's the reason why. And the seeds, obviously, you can make hemp protein, you can make hemp seed oil, and you can make a lot of really good stuff from the hemp seed oil. It's one of the most nutritious oils in nature for a human being to eat, because it has like 18 of amino acids of the 20 we need. So it's a super healthy food. Then you have the stem, the outside here, which contains fiber, and that's what makes it really tough to deal with. If you look at this outside here, this is a very fibrous material, and this was one of the prerequisites was required to go over the Atlantic, because all the shipping industry was dependent on ropes made from this fiber. So when you see the old ships with the big ropes in the sails, it's made from this fiber. And it's actually still used in, for instance, the car industry. They use this fiber, they chop it up in small pieces, and they put it in the plastic molding. I think like Mercedes is using 5 or 7 kilos of hemp fiber in their indoor paneling, because it doesn't squeak when it gets cold. Just regular glass fiber, it will turn very hard when it gets cold, and the paneling will start to squeak. This doesn't do that, so they're still using it. So in Germany, it's a big industry to produce fiber for the car industry. And also it has a very particular build-up. If you look at it in the microscope, it just goes. The harder you work it, the finer the material gets. So if you work it very little, you get a fiber that you can use for rough bags and stuff like that. But if you keep on working it in the machine, you can get a fiber that is extremely fine and also extremely durable. So it's actually being used for Armani costumes, Armani suits, one of the best material for the textile industry. And it was used, one of the people who made most money from the gold rush in California was the guy who was selling pants, because they had pants made of cotton and they were standing in water all day, so the pants basically fell off them. So Mr. Levi, he took cloth from sails from the Atlantic ships I was talking about, and he made pants out of them, and they were extremely durable. So the gold diggers, they could stand in the stream all day and the pants would just last forever. And that was the foundation for the jeans industry, the Levi industry. And unfortunately the cotton took over, but the original jeans were actually made of hemp. So you still can get some hemp fiber clothing, but it's kind of an exclusivity today. So the fiber, extremely strong, one of the strongest in nature, and can definitely be used for textile production, rope production, and a lot of stuff like that. Then you have a third component of this plant, and that is the, I forgot the name now in English, the stem here. I forgot the name. The stalk consists of a woody material here, and this material you can chop up and it becomes an extremely good bedding for animals. So it's actually much better than sawdust and stuff like that. It keeps absorbs the urine in the stable very, very good. So it becomes the best horses, they use hemp bedding to because it's so good for the horses. So that was my idea with this from the beginning. But I mean, you can't start an industry on 1 hectare and buy machinery or whatever. So and also of course it can be used for burning. We use it, or rather we try to use it. When I started growing hemp 15 years ago, the idea was to use it for burning, making briquettes and burn it. But for different reasons that didn't work out. Actually we had a pelleting machine, but it was made for sawdust, and when we put this fiber in it just went around all the screws stopped and everything, so that project failed. But I mean, since there are 3 things that can be useful here, I'm surprised that we still 2021 haven't found extensive farming of hemp here in Sweden, because and of course the thing that is really hampering it or holding it back is the connection to drugs. This is a drug-free version, obviously, that is allowed to grow, but everybody knows when you say hemp or cannabis or marijuana or something, everybody thinks that's about smoking. But I think that the main reason when it was when in the 30s there was an article in Popular Mechanics in America where they said this is the future billion-dollar crop, and that just gave the industry hiccups, because the plastic industry, the medical industry, the textile industry, everybody thought, uh-oh, the farmers are going to get our money, we can't have that. So it took 90 seconds for the US Congress to ban this plant and just take away all the potential from the farmers. And we know the result now with the plastic industry, with the textile industry spreading tons and tons and tons of chemicals, farming cotton. So the world would be a very much different place if we had been allowed to grow this plant, because this is like the best you can imagine for the environment. I actually registered the domain 15 years ago saying the carbon dioxide bank, and the idea was because this is absorbing a lot of carbon, and the idea was to sell the accumulation of carbon per hectare to in companies who want to negate their carbon. But obviously I was 15 years too early. So now I couldn't imagine that. But now 2021 they're talking about paying farmers for sequestering carbon. So the world is late. The world is very late. Okay, was that answer to your question?
And you can drink it also.
Yeah,
You can drink it in green juice.
Yeah,
for healing of all diseases in the skin.
Yes,
Because it's a healing plant. Even the Bible talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. It's these leaves that are a bit old now. When they're younger, you can make a salad out of them.
You can make salad and you can drink it.
And you can also actually. I used to sell hemp milk, where you basically press the seeds with water, and you get a hemp milk. It's really tasty, fantastic. So I mean, 25 different uses of this plant, and we're still farming cotton. Now I'm getting grumpy now. Let's go.